The flight from the River of Silent Tears was a mechanical exercise in spiritual efficiency for Xingye. He used the celestial gale step, powered by the river's stored grief, to maintain impossible velocity over the desolate landscape. His heart shield of desolate truth pulsed with a cold internal light, protecting him not just from external strikes, but from the demands of his own conscience. Xingye was no longer running. He was following the predetermined trajectory dictated by the celestial map and the grim prophecy. The Star Eater blade, now completely sated with sorrow, remained a quiet, heavy presence on his back, a silent obsidian extension of his will. He felt no fatigue, no hunger, and most importantly, no fear. Only the cold compulsion to reach the Temple of Shattered Oaths. The temple was located at the heart of the wastelands of finality, a region known for its volatile spiritual static. This static was a dangerous phenomenon, capable of shredding the Dancian of weaker cultivators, but Xingye's power was beyond such simple dangers. However, the spiritual chaos was the perfect environment for the Shadow Walkers to launch a coordinated ambush. Suddenly, the chaotic key around him warped. 3 figures materialized simultaneously, not chasing, but waiting. The lead figure was larger, his shadow deeper. His obsidian dagger shimmering with a faint purple light, Shadow Walker Alpha. Alpha was the commander of the assassination team, known for unmatched speed and a terrifying soul-piercing key art called the Void Lance. Alpha spoke, his voice a dry whisper that seemed to come from inside Xingye's mind. "The Wandering God's journey ends here, Xingye." Xingye halted the celestial gale step. He did not reply. Dialogue was now an irrelevant human weakness. He simply drew the Star Eater blade, its heavy obsidian surface drinking the light of the dying sun. The Star Eater's presence alone was enough to make the spiritual static of the wastelands calm slightly, testament to its massive power. Beta and the third Shadow Walker, Gamma, moved to flank him, executing the silent, flawless coordination of the Jade Serpent Guard's elite. Alpha lunged first, not with a strike, but with the Void Lance, a concentrated projection of pure destructive ki, aimed at Xingye's stanchion. The Void Lance was meant to bypass physical defenses and shatter the spiritual core instantly. But Xingye was protected by the heart shield of desolate truth. The sorrow he had absorbed instantly metabolized the destructive energy. The Void Lance dissolved upon impact with the shield, leaving only a brief, chilling wave of icy emptiness. No cultivator had ever nullified the Void Lance so completely. This hesitation was a fatal flaw. Xingye moved, utilizing the gale step within a few meters, transforming his position into a chaotic blur. He targeted Beta first, the assassin he had already wounded at the River of Silent Tears. Xingye's movement was not aggressive, was inevitable, a force of nature driven by pure mechanical efficiency. The Star Eater met Beta's daggers. The clash resulted in a brief, blinding flare of spiritual power. Beta's daggers, forged from tempered black steel, shattered instantly against the Star Eater's dense, sorrow-fueled obsidian. The remaining momentum of Xingye's attack struck Beta's heart shield, which was far weaker than Xingye's own. The Shadow Walker was thrown backward, collapsing into the sand. He was alive, but his spiritual core was severely destabilized. Gamma and Alpha pressed the attack, abandoning their formation for a dual assault, sensing the tide turning. Gamma launched a series of high-speed kicks, aiming to immobilize Xingye, while Alpha tried to circle behind. Xingye blocked Gamma's attack, his movements economical, precise, and utterly devoid of wasted effort. He used the backlash of Gamma's strike to execute a sudden controlled blast of Kia, non-lethal move meant only to create distance. Gamma was flung back, sliding 20 meters across the rocky dust, his resolve shaken by the raw, unreadable power. Alpha, seeing the devastating power, made a tactical decision. He gave a sharp, silent hand signal to Gamma and Beta. The 3 Shadow Walkers executed a simultaneous retreat, melting back into the spiritual static as quickly as they had appeared. They had confirmed the target's power was now too great for an open confrontation. They would resort to stealth and long-term tracking. Xingye did not pursue. He sheathed the Star Eater, his expression remaining utterly vacant. The confrontation was merely a delay, not a victory. He continued his journey, now walking toward the silent monolithic structure looming ahead, the Temple of Shattered Oaths. It was not a ruined temple, but a massive stone monolith, perfectly preserved, built from dark volcanic rock that absorbed all sound and light. A single arched gateway stood open, leading into a profound and echoing darkness. Xingai stepped inside. The air was cold, still, and heavy with the scent of ancient, unfulfilled promise. The interior was a vast, circular chamber, dominated by a single, perfectly smooth, obsidian altar in the center. Floating above the altar was a figure of pure, concentrated spiritual light, the indelible spiritual echo of his ancestor Xingjun. Xingjun was the first master of the God-shattering heart technique, the one who had made the original terrible vow. The figure was clad in robes of swirling white energy, his eyes burning with a relentless singular fury. "You have come, last of the line," Xingjun's voice boomed, rich with the bitterness of a millennium of betrayal. "You have gathered the power." Xingai stood at the entrance, his Star Eater blade heavy and silent. "You carry the sorrow, the pain of the river, the strength of the mountain," the ancestor continued, his voice echoing off the smooth stone. "But you are empty. You have sacrificed your purpose for mere defense." Xingjun projected a vision directly into Xingai's mind, a scene of the celestial court's destruction. He saw temples crumbling, the Jade Emperor kneeling, and the ancient oppressors of their lineage finally vanquished in a sea of fire. This was the vow. This was the purpose of the God-shattering heart technique. Xingjun roared, "Unleash your full sorrow for vengeance." The spiritual echo of the ancestor was immense, attempting to overwrite Xingai's will with its own 1,000-year-old fury. Xingai felt the familiar, cold presence of his own grief. Now integrated with the river's despair, resisting the ancestor's foreign emotion, the prophecy had led him here, not to fulfill the vow, but to break it. Xingai understood the true meaning of the shattered oath. He had to choose between the path of his lineage, vengeance, and the path of the prophecy sacrifice. Vengeance would mean releasing his power, destroying the current order, and ultimately dying in a cataclysmic confrontation. Sacrifice, the true wandering path, meant accepting the sorrow, maintaining the shield, and moving toward an unknown but inevitable lonely fate. He lifted his hand, not to strike, but to touch the heart shield of desolate truth pulsing beneath his robes. The vow was broken. Xingai finally spoke, his voice dry and hollow, devoid of warmth or hatred. "The age of vengeance is over." The ancestor's form convulsed violently. "Betrayer, you deny your destiny. You deny our suffering." Xingai felt the spiritual echo try to pierce his shield, but the defense held firm, built on a sorrow deeper and more focused than Xingjun's rage. "Suffering is not a weapon," Xingai stated, citing the final secret lesson of the God-shattering heart scrolls. "It is a path." The ancestor defeated began to fade. The energy of his 1,000-year-old fury subsided, collapsing inward upon itself. As Xingjun's echo vanished, the energy coalesced, forming the final, ultimate spiritual component required by the prophecy. It wasn't an attack art. It was pure, refined defense. The armor of transcendent sorrow. This armor materialized as a thin, silver-white coating of spiritual light that merged with the heart shield. It was the absolute integration of all the pain he had gathered, forming a final, self-sustaining barrier against all mental and spiritual attack. By shattering the oath of vengeance, Xingai had completed the wandering god transformation. He was now fully protected from the outside world, but also eternally separated from it. The price was paid. He now possessed the 3 core defenses: the heart shield, celestial gale, step for evasion, and the armor of transcendent sorrow for total protection. The celestial map on the obsidian altar glowed brightly, showing the final location, the Gate of Silent Ascent. This gate, mentioned only in the deepest imperial lore, was rumored to be the true boundary between the human realm and the celestial court itself. Xingai retrieved the map, now permanently inscribed onto his spirit. The journey was nearly complete. He turned and walked out of the Temple of Shattered Oaths, leaving the ancestor's silent legacy behind. The air outside felt different. He was no longer a hunted fugitive, but an unstoppable force of quiet, resolute power. Meanwhile, miles away, Alpha and Gamma regrouped in a hidden crevice, watching the temple through specialized spiritual scopes. He is complete, Alpha whispered, his voice shaking slightly. He has taken the final power, Gamma replied. The Void Lance failed. His spiritual defense is absolute. We cannot breach it with conventional means. Alpha activated a small jade and gold communication array, a direct line to Marshal Yin, the commander of the Jade Serpent Guard. The array hummed with static before Marshal Yin's cold, calm voice crackled through. Report. Alpha knelt, his voice filled with professional defeat. Target achieved final form, Marshal. The Temple of Shattered Oaths is silent. The oath is broken. Then Marshal Yin replied, his tone devoid of surprise. The wandering god has chosen the path of ultimate solitude. He moves toward the gate of silent ascent, Marshal. We cannot stop him with our current deployment. You will not try to stop him, Marshal Yin ordered. You will prepare the final order. The Celestial Court must make its own defense. Alpha terminated the transmission, his face grim. The final order meant a confrontation on a scale that would reshape the very realm. Shingai continued his shadowed pilgrimage, the armor of transcendent sorrow protecting him from the harsh reality of the wastelands. He felt the vast cold presence of Marshal Yin and the Celestial Court gathering its strength far ahead. The final destination was set. The tragedy was inevitable. He was now the ultimate Wuxia hero, unbreakable, powerful, and utterly, profoundly alone. The sundering of the ancestral vow brings Shingai to his full, sorrowful potential. He gains the armor of transcendent sorrow, completing his defense and making him resistant to all spiritual and emotional attacks. The Shadow Walkers realize they are powerless to stop him and signal the Celestial Court for the final confrontation. The stage is set for the tragic climax at the Gate of Silent Ascent. Shingai's choice to break the Oath of Vengeance dooms him to a lonely existence, but fulfills the tragic prophecy. The path ahead promises only one outcome, a sad final confrontation. The wandering god walks toward his destiny. The Celestial Court prepares the final order. What ancient power will Marshal Yun unleash at the Gate of Silent Ascent? Comment your predictions, like this video script, share it with fellow fans, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio for Part 6.